It's time for another Dice Tower review with Zee Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at Nimmt. Nimmt is a follow-up slash reimagining, if you would, of Nimmt, a classic game from Wolfgang Kramer. And in this game, he and his co-designer have taken that system, have basically made it sort of a closed system with a little bit more back and forth, and given it a couple of new twists. Now, I'm a big fan of the original. I think it's a solid, very interesting game. So, what do I think of this one? How does it compare to the original? Can it live up to that classic card game feel? Let's take a look at how this works, then we'll come back and I'll tell you what I thought of it. To set up the game, we're going to put out these three cards here that delineate the three columns that will form. Everybody gets one of these X placeholder cards, and then everyone is dealt a hand of 8 cards as well. These have numbers on them, anywhere between 1 and 100. Nothing repeats in this game. And they have a number of little bullheads here at the top of each card, between 1 and 5. And then we're also going to flip over a card to start each of these rows, and you're ready to begin. The objective of the game is to get the fewest of the bullheads as possible, and you are going to be doing that by playing cards and hoping you don't end up taking them back, okay? Each round goes like this. You are going to be taking a card from your hand. You are going to play that card face down in front of you, and everyone's doing this. And once that's been done, let me find one here for this player. Then they are all going to be revealed. And starting from the lowest number, in this case the 10 there, you are going to add that card to the end of one of these rows. Where that card goes, the row in which it ends up, is delineated by the numerical sequence as well as the smallest possible gap. So, for instance, the 10 is going to go here after the 7. If there was a 7 here, and this was just a 4, it would still go after the 7 because it's the smallest possible gap. So that player will play there, that's fine, and the next player would play. The 42 would go after the 44 rather, after the 42 of course, and then the 99 would go after the 90. Perfect, everyone picks another card and goes again. Nothing happened yet. However, if ever one of these rows is filled to that number, the person who plays that card has busted that row, and they are going to take some cards away from the line and place them next to their X, possibly. And here's what I mean. Let's say I play next, and everybody reveals, and I reveal a 16. The 16 is going to go here. Let's say I'm the first one to play. In this case, I have to take the 7 and the 10, leave the 16 there to start basically the new row, and then next to my X, I can put one of these. The other ones are going to go in my hand. So let's say I put the 10 here. 7 ends up in my hand again. And this 10 right now next to the X is not hurting me at all. In fact, at the end of the game, my score, which is bad, again, you want as low a score as possible, is going to be every bullhead in my hand counts as 1 point, 1 bad point, right? Everything next to the X is nothing, does not hurt me at all. However, once I bust this line and I take those cards and flip them over next to the X, every one of those bullheads counts as 2 bad points. So that's what I'm trying to do. How do you bust this line? Well, every time you take some cards from out here and you have to play one next to your X, those numbers must continue to ascend. As soon as they do not ascend, you will then break that line, and just like these, you need to take those cards, flip them face down, and they now hurt you twice as bad. If they're still in the X at the end of the game, by the way, those are good. Those do not affect you whatsoever. So that's how that works. Let's say later on I play this 56. It goes here, and then after that I'm going to play let's say a 97, just to be silly. That also goes there. I end up taking these, and then I would put one in my line, Usually I'll try to put one that both makes sense numerically, but has a bunch of bullheads to hope to never have to deal with those, right? And the rest go in my hand. And this continues until I later on end up taking this card, which is fine, but then I take something like this. That's a problem. These all bust. They'll hurt me way worse later on, and I leave the 16 there because it's the one that broke the ascending pattern, and we continue. The game's going to be over when someone is fully out of cards in their hand, and then you are going to score up the game. Everything in your hand, every bullhead head hurts you for 1. Everything in the line here does not hurt you at all, and everything in the pile hurts you for 2. And so, let's say this is my final play here, with these cards being in that X pile. That's 5, 8, 9, so that's 18, 19, 20, 26. That's actually 27. Never mind. So, that's it. The lowest score, once that has happened, you write that down, you shuffle all this up, you play one more time through it, which is fairly quickly, add up the scores from both those rounds, and whoever has the lowest score combining both of the rounds is going to be the winner of X Nimmt. And that's how you play. One of the things I really like about this game is those steps, that sequential feel of having to take cards and then one of them not hurting you until you bust and then they really hurt you. And I like that. It's sort of like a safety valve, you know. If you are able to keep that happening, you're good, you know, but it's tricky to manage that X row, you know. I like it a lot. I think the fact that there's a little more give and take in the game is really interesting. In 6 Nimmt, you have your hand of cards, you play them, you take stuff and set it aside and forget about it until you've played all your cards, and you hope that you took fewer. In this one, since that closed system might require people to take cards back into their hand, there's a little bit more gameplay here, and I really like that feeling. I like the idea that I could end up forcing someone else to pick up cards back into their hand, but therefore giving them more options to play. Because once I'm down to, 2 cards and someone else has 6, they simply have more options. And I really enjoy that. I think it makes this game ultimately a better game than 6 Nimmt. It feels very similar, and you probably don't need to own both, honestly, unless you love filler games like this. But I kind of do, and this one I think is better. So that's it for me. Thumbs way up from me for X Nimmt. Definitely would recommend it for those of you that you love these little card games like I do. Check this one out.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.